Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's a big step.
Okay, everybody, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Go ahead and we'll do a roll call.
Mayor Falconberry here, Alderman Piper. Present. Alderman Brown. Here. Alderman Gilbert. Here. Alderman Sedlak. Here. Alderman McPherson. Present. And Alderman King. Here.
All right, everybody stand up. Todd, lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody stay standing for who you have. We're gonna have a prayer. Lord, be with us tonight. Be with our town. Be with the citizens. Be with our leadership. Give us the knowledge and everything we need to make the right decisions for our community. Be with our firefighters, our police officers, and anybody that comes through this area to keep them out of harm's way, dear Lord. And I will pray also for my wife and my family, and be with me, dear Lord, for the stuff we're going through right now. And be with all the people here tonight, that we answer their questions and keep this under control and calm. And we cannot live and have this life without you beside us, dear Lord. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all better look at the agenda, been over it, but,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda, so.
got a motion, have a second? Second. All in favor? All opposed? All right, we adopted the agenda. Y'all have time to look at the minutes? Y'all got any questions over them, anything you wanna ask, talk about on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Got a motion to approve the minutes, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes been approved. Alright, we got a lot of people here, I don't know if everybody's here to speak or not. This is for the citizens' input. If y'all have anybody here to citizens' input, or y'all anybody here to speak? If you are, you raise your hand up, tell us your name, your address, you have 3 minutes to talk to me. Yes, ma'am, stand up.
Hi, I'm Kelly Doherty. My address is 130 Olympia Circle.
Kelly Green.
Doherty.
Doherty.
Yeah,
Doherty, I'm sorry.
Daugherty. And I was just inquiring about how we would go about to petition the town about decreasing our speed limit in our neighborhood. I don't know what that process would be, and I was just wondering if I could get some information or direction.
Speed limit.
It's River Forester.
What's the current speed limit now, ma'am?
Current speed limit is 30 miles an hour. It's unposted, so we're just assuming that's what it is. And it's a congested neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're just concerned about our children in the neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, we have a lot of elderly people too.
Right.
And with the congestion and everything going on, we just wanted to decrease that speed limit to a safer, like 15 miles an hour.
Would you be objecting to defer to Chief Collins, sir?
I would not.
Yeah, I have HOA there.
Yes, sir, we do.
Could they do something about it? Since it's their,
We don't have control over it because the actual street is owned by the city.
It's 20.
So the city.
We had that one
Decided
time, we were
to-
talking about that. Do y'all remember what we decided to do on that?
20.
20 miles an hour? Has that been?
I think the question was, we did bring this up a couple months ago, the question was, is it only in neighborhoods or is it also on side streets throughout the whole town? You know, it's 30 miles an hour right through the main road. We never lock anything in stone though, do we, Chief?
Yes, it
We
is
did.
30 miles on
they have to get a petition from their neighborhood to the board, who then can vote, is that correct?
So the board would have to vote on it, so whether that was from a petition from the neighborhood or whether the board initiated it, either way, you would, again, it is 30 unless otherwise posted, and if you wanted to post it within, River Forest or another subdivision or on another street, you would just vote to post it to whatever speed you thought appropriate, and then we would put signage up.
That's something we will bring up and we would get it out there.
Okay.
And we would look into it. I think 30, whatever the board decides to do. I think we should drop it to 20.
Okay. So is there anything that we would need to do as residents, or is that just something that you will do, or do you need us to initiate something, sir?
I think it would be helpful to the board to maybe submit a letter or petition form, just so they can have that.
Can y'all do that?
Yes, sir, yeah.
We appreciate it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Kelly with a Y or an IE?
IE, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
John Wilcox, 4444 Smiley Road, Chapel Hill. Honorable Mayor, Alderman, as you might guess, I'm here about the road to Chapel Hill development. I believe that it's greatly going to impact Mike Minor Sports Complex by making it very cool to.
Will you speak up? I can hear you.
I'm sorry?
Will you speak up, please? I can't hear.
Yeah, I got the same problem. I have hearing aids. I'll give it my best shot.
You're good.
So I'm very concerned about the Mike Minor Sports Complex. I think you're gonna have an accessibility problem by virtue of the traffic that's gonna come from this development. I think you're also gonna have public safety issues, both EMS and law enforcement, by virtue of adding this. I think you're gonna have impacts to your schools, the water use. Very frankly, I think this development is the quintessential definition of negligent planning. And I don't like saying that, I really don't. But that appears to me what this is. And I've been involved in plenty of developments and planning at large and much larger scale than this and smaller as well. But there was no traffic study done, at all, ever. And this is taking a rural environment and literally turning it into an urban neighborhood. And that requires just common sense, a traffic impact and public safety analysis. Y'all didn't do that. And I understand when I say you, make sure that you understand, I'm not pointing my fingers at individuals you, I'm talking the BOMA previous years going forward too, okay? So don't take personal offense. The developer obviously is competent. Why didn't he suggest you do this? Well, I can venture guesses, but still, it wasn't done. There's no money to expand these streets and roads going down, the line. So when we look forward, we say, well, we're just starting with 70, and then, it's over 10 years, we're gonna expand this. Well, wait a second. Both sides of these roads are individual residential property. You all don't have the money to come up and buy that, and you're gonna run into huge legal problems with inverse condemnation trying to take the property. You're gonna need near unanimous or unanimous consent to be able to take it down the road years from now and expand it. And then you got the whole utility and power infrastructure on top of that. We all know about the railroad. You've already had deaths on that railroad. You're gonna have more. You're gonna have delays in public safety response times. So you are literally setting up a guaranteed future litigation, likely repetitive litigation from delayed EMS response. That's not in your interest. It's not in the community's interest. You've approved these 70 residents. I ran an AI report. I sent you another one before this meeting to Mr. Bingham. I'm sure he'll give it to you on the 744 development, but I ran a 70 one, and that came up with 630 trips a day more on these roads. These roads are barely 2-lane roads. You know that already. They're very tall. Ultimately, these plans will add just under 1,500 more cars on the road at peak times in the morning, afternoons, and weekends. It's a certainty these ambulances aren't gonna be able to get through here at high peak traffic. And if I hit the 3 minutes, kind of give me a heads up and I'll
That's it.
Wind it down.
You're good,
We're
bud.
good.
I'm okay?
You're next.
That's three.
Okay, then three, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman Franklin. I live at, 2220 on Bills Road. I'd like to give my 3 minutes to John.
Is that kosher?
What road? I'm sorry.
100 Bills Road.
Is that loud, gentlemen? Okay, thank you. The developer almost certainly has an ironclad contract with you. Now, I have sat where you all have sat for years. Don't envy you, don't want the job, couldn't have it anyhow, I live out of town. Your city attorney here is gonna tell you you can't do anything, okay? And in one sense, he's right. As individual, you guys are just as weak as anybody else. But as a group, that isn't true. You have ultimate power. And you can say, because it's gonna be said down the road, again, I remind you, you're going to be sued, not by me, by whoever gets delayed and a relative dies because of all this traffic that's gonna come as a result of this, not to mention the accidents, okay? So, and I think you probably agree with that, you don't have to vocalize it, but you're gonna get sued, and they're gonna point to negligence. You need to go back, and this is a very hard pill to swallow, and you need to say, you know, the previous BOMA was negligent in not ordering a traffic and public impact safety study. And that's a better pill to take, because the developer almost certainly will sue you, and then you go litigate it, and you know what? There's case law that says when that happens, and there's been negligence in a board, it gets overturned. And that's a better place to be than multiple repeated lawsuits, to the point where I suspect down the road, it may happen so often that Chapel Hill no longer exists, and it's taken over by Marshall County, because you're not gonna be able to take, you know, the damages that come as a result of that. So I just urge you to think about that. Again, I sent this to you in short form before the meeting. Look at it. I'm just a messenger, that's it. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Right here. Stand up, tell me name and address, young man behind you, I'll get you next.
Bill Harris, 4617 Smiley Road. The property we're talking about on Depot Road, how long ago was that annexed into the city? And why was it annexed? Can anybody tell me that? There had to be a reason why you annexed that property.
Well, I remember a little bit of why we gained it in, because at the time Marshall County had it, and that development was gonna happen in the county, and we're still gonna have to deal with the people, but as the city of Chapel Hill, as far as I remember, they wasn't gonna get nothing from that, but we still get the people. So we tried to get it annexed in, so at least we could get some of the benefits from it. Water taps, sewer taps, rooftop taxes.
How long ago did you
Because-
annex into the city?
I don't remember exactly the date, if anybody can answer that one for me.
About 7 years ago.
7 years ago?
Okay, was that ever in the flood zone? Ever? Because now they're bringing in dirt, they're raising it, where's all that water gonna go? On other people's property and flood them out? Who's responsible for that, the builder? Or is that just gonna be bypassed?
Into the floodplain.
Pardon me?
There is no dirt being put into the floodplain.
But you're gonna have a bunch of homes built there, that
No,
water
we're
has to
not.
go
That's done
someplace.
for density purposes, not for, there's, where you see floodplain and on that master plan, there's no homes gonna be built in the floodplain. That was done for density purposes, so it could be slid back if we wanted to do townhomes or apartments farther back. There'll be nothing built in the floodplain, cause we're not allowed to build in the floodplain.
Okay, so where's all the water gonna go that you're building all these homes? And whatever you're gonna build there, the roads and everything, water has to go someplace.
The waters has runoff, it's called a SWIP. You know what a SWIP is? Stormwater protection.
Right now, I'm gonna put a stop to it, 'cause this is going nowhere. You go ahead and give me your complaints, and our engineers have assured us what we're doing is the right, proper way of doing it. I have to believe our engineers know what they're doing. Maybe they don't, but I hope they do.
Okay, how about the road situation? They're not, the big trucks aren't gonna be able to go underneath the railroad track, cause nothing's ever been done about that since the 4 kids been killed. Are they gonna do something with that before all this traffic comes into town and, whereas our road, Smiley Road, Ball Road, that two cars can't even get by each other hardly, is that gonna be widened? Whose responsibility is that?
The railroad is responsible for the rail tracks and the underpass.
What's gonna be done with it? Is anything gonna be done with it, or this lawsuit, whatever happened with that when the kids got killed there 3 or 4 years ago? Do you have any idea?
Is this question not what the alternative is going to be, to not use the railroad tracks and the width of the roads?
Roads can't take it. Where I live, they can't take it. And that's out of the city. So who do I go to? Marshall County? You complain?
Marshall County owns the railroad, RNX.
So you guys are just passing the buck. You're getting all the money off these homes and passing the buck, correct?
You're next.
Oh, I thought I was.
Oh, let her go first, sorry.
Go ahead.
I apologize, go ahead, ma'am.
Big stamp talk.
Okay. Terry Stinson, 338 Bryan Road, Chapel Hill.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything he said, cause he's squared on all the studies that should have been done. And if this were to build out at 775 homes, that effectively doubles Chapel Hill. So that doubles everything. And of course, doubling doesn't necessarily mean doubling, sometimes it's exponential, things that we just can't capture. Traffic accidents that we see more and more. I'm from a small town, born, raised in a small town, moved here because it's a small town, love this small town. We know growth is inevitable, but it has to be responsible. And responsible is doing the homework and the groundwork before we say yes. My husband and I are bike riders, we ride all these roads and have seen gradual increase in the traffic, and we mostly ride the east side, and I think, as all these gentlemen have said, that traffic is going to be horrendous on those county roads and on Depot Street. And even, Saturday morning, we were going up to the ballpark, or actually we went up this way just to look at the project and go to Henry Horton, and at 6:30 in the morning, there's already traffic backed up at the stop sign at, Depot, the Depot signal. And it's not just this, there's like, already, again, Highway 31 needs more, and I know that's a state issue on that, but there needs to be some checks and balances starting to be put in, because we can't say we're gonna grow double and then do the infrastructure. We need the infrastructure, and I understand you need money, so it's a catch-22, and the money looks great, yeah, that's really the best thing that looks good on this whole plan is the money, right? Because I think quality of life, and I think that's why people live here is quality of life, and I personally don't see benefit from living next to a railroad track and having to traverse that road. It scares us to death when we ride our bikes through there, we kinda creep around, or even driving through this morning, that's a very, very obviously dangerous spot, and obviously the railroad has no interest in improving that for Chapel Hill just because we're doubling our population. They don't have an interest in that, they're not getting money in their pocket. So anyway, that's basically what I have to say, is I would like to see responsible growth. I think this is a great community, and it could go wrong fast, and this community could become something very different, and it's not real pretty. Thank you.
Could you repeat your address, please?
338 Ryan Road.
Ryan, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Zach Willis, 1448 Alyssa Drive. I can echo a lot of what I've heard here tonight. I'll tell you my biggest concern, besides the obvious that we don't have the infrastructure to support this, is the safety issue. That railroad crossing, as we all know, is a death trap. And I see cars with kids, parents taking them to school, and that tunnel is backed up, and they're going up and over. And I'll tell you guys, I hold my breath every time, and I pray to God nobody else gets killed. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I understand the railroad's not your control, but what's happening is, y'all are allowing a fire to be lit, and then pointing and going, it's not our fault, it's not our place to put it out. But y'all can stop that. And I think that responsibility, I understand what's been said, I understand some of this started before a lot of y'all were here, but you have the ability to put the stop on this before it becomes a major safety issue. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Cody Gardner, 1334 Summer Station. I hear, like, we're talking a lot about the one development, but I think if I'm not mistaken, maybe one of y'all can correct me, how many approved houses do we have for Chapel Hill? City limits? Over 2,000? Not right now? 22, so.
He said how many more.
Oh, I thought y'all mean we had now.
How many are approved, how many have approval through Chapel Hill, in Chapel Hill City
Right
limits?
now, we're under moratorium, we're very limited what we can approve. So, I mean, everything's gotta come before the planning commission after that, so once that takes place.
How many are currently approved?
I've got about 1,000 rooftops waiting to land, once we get water.
And that's just in the town of Chapel Hill, that's not counting what's going on out in the, which I know you guys have limited control over. And so what I'm getting at, I think everyone's talking and real focused on this one subdivision here, which is certainly a problem. We can all agree about that. But
Right.
it's the consistent approval of development over development over development. And I don't know, is there anyone on the board that makes money off these developments? Nobody?
I mean, I can say so there.
No, I'm just asking. Nobody on this board or any of the other boards contract or do any work for those communities?
And there's no house being built until the moratorium is lifted.
You said,
I understand that,
So, I mean,
that's for
approved
water,
or
right?
built.
That's for water only, right? We're now
Right,
water.
we gotta have water before houses get built, and we're ways from that.
But I guess what I'm getting at is how much infrastructure has been approved? How many roads have you guys are planning to widen with these houses?
What roads, county or city? Because we don't have access to the city.
What about it?
Well, we don't have access to the city.
So the city roads, what city roads do we have planned to widen and make better?
I mean, it's definitely something in the books, because we know we're growing. I mean, it's, we're not gonna build the roads first and then grow later. We don't have the money to do that.
We'll do, I mean, I guess, we can dig in a little bit more as a citizen on what your guys' plan is, but, we know what the plans are for the developments, and we're not seeing the plans for the infrastructure. And so any added schools coming, classrooms,
can't answer that, it's a county,
As a county.
school board.
so you guys got no idea?
Well, I do know they have meetings about it, Marshall.
Does that not affect your guys' decisions when you're approving other developments to come in?
It affects the schools. Schools affect us.
No, but I'm asking, when you guys are approving all these developments, does that not affect your decision making? Saying, hey, we're getting ready to add 1,000 rooftops, but I don't have the 2.5 kids per household room for them in my schools that are currently here, or I guess the county schools. And so, I mean, I think us as a citizen, like, we're looking for like, can't you guys help us to stop some of these developments so that our infrastructure and master plan can be developed and catch up?
I can't argue it's not done, if we should start looking at it, we have talked about the county. But, I do appreciate you mentioning other neighborhoods that are coming that we could look at, besides just the one that's already been approved years down, it's been approved, I don't know how many years. Now, that neighborhood's been approved 5, 6.
I mean, I'm asking for a moratorium on like all building until master plan's developed in Chapel Hill.
Absolutely.
Like, don't let no building happen in Chapel Hill, stop it all until the master plan's developed. I think building's great, but I think we need more businesses, and I think businesses need to be able to.
Thank you, appreciate it. Now,
We
anybody-
welcome all businesses there, I mean, we don't.
I hear it's very difficult to open a business here.
Well, name
No, I mean-
one that we've turned away, I'd like to hear one, because I hear this accusation all the time, but nobody's ever been able to name it.
I don't know
And
that you guys
businesses
come
don't
to them
wanna
and
come
turn them
without
away,
making
but it's a
it.
difficulty of getting them approved here. I'm certain you're not saying, go away, we don't want you.
Absolutely not. We're recruiting businesses.
But they don't wanna come with nobody here. I mean, businesses gotta have people shopping. So what do you wanna do there? I mean,
I wanna get the businesses and the work here with a plan to also add housing.
All right, before this gets out of hand, we're gonna stop it there, and who's next in line? Yes, ma'am?
Leanne Pigeon, 2121 Garrett Road.
Can you pronounce your last name again, please?
Pigeon,
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm sorry,
what's the address?
2121
2121
Garrett Road.
Derrick Road.
Yes, ma'am, what do you got?
There's an old saying, before they hatch. It seems like that this is happening with this development. The town of Chapel Hill doesn't have the money to make improvements to the roads now because we need property tax revenue. We don't have the money to improve the underpass. We don't have the money to build another school. What happens if Tennessee follows some states like Florida and does away with property tax? They could raise our sales tax and do away with property tax. Then you would not have the future revenue from property tax. There are a lot of people that would vote for that. If you can't fund improvements needed for a large development, you should not approve it.
Anybody else?
Yeah. I'll ask a question. Mike Shivers,
Yes, sir.
you said that was an accusation, and then you said I had 1,000 rooftops?
Roughly, yeah. I
What do you
that's-
mean by I? Do you have a interest in these buildings and
No, I don't.
approval? Well, I just want clarification.
Let me clarify that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do not have an interest in that, nor do I accept any bribes or anything like that that's been allocated or alleged in my instance. So to make that perfectly clear, when I say I'm talking about the town, since a lot of it has to come to me and you with your complaints and stuff first.
Sure.
So in doing that and making sure that we understand, right now, we're under a moratorium. No houses have been definitely approved. I know that on the books, when I say that, people planning, talking to me, developers call me every day wanting to come into this town. So I understand that, and when I asked them, I said, well, what are you planning? 10 houses? No, 300, 400 houses. So when I say that, those are things I have to plan for or look for in planning to set this thing up. So that's why I'm trying to address some of these issues. And I'll be glad to talk to you on the side. I don't want to take up public time to do that. I'll be glad, my door's open. Come and talk.
Sure. Well, I just want you to clarify that.
Yeah.
We're not accusing, we're asking, and for you to say this is getting out of hand, this is our public forum once a month. So you should entertain and give us that opportunity to speak and ask those questions.
I gave everybody the amount of time, and I will give you your 3 minutes, but I'm not gonna let individual argue back and forth. It's not on this committee board. One individual is talking to the committee board, and we will listen. But I'm not here to debate from one person to the next person to the next person. You have your time, though, absolutely, yes, sir.
Sure. Well, it is a concern. It isn't a debate. It isn't a complaint. We are all concerned, and you're elected officials that you represent us, and we should have that right to speak and voice our disdain or disapproval. And that's all I'm here for, my 3 minutes. But hey, I said it once before, 6 months ago. We don't want Antioch in this community we all live in. Thank you for my time.
You're welcome. You still got another minute and a half you wanna talk.
That's all right. I'll relinquish my time to the next speaker. I hope we have
And
more.
I'll go further and say a little bit. A lot of these stuff has been approved, and we've done, and everything I know right now that's on the board actually has been approved and started before Danny even got on board and took this position. I know a lot of the other people that were on board no longer not here, so. I think most of them are new since we started this neighborhood.
We'll just be open to our concerns and, you know, we've talked about death, we've talked about police force. I mean, we just don't have the infrastructure to do what you guys are numbering here.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I do, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Ben Hudson, 109 Northwest Chester, Chapel Hill. Y'all were talking about the railroad earlier. Has Section 130 grants been looked into? There's a 90-10 with municipalities. What was the verdict on that then, if it has been looked into?
The last feedback I got from TDOT and so forth then was that, basically they were allotted, I think, $5 million, and the project they were proposing was 3 to 4, and they said, we can't do that. They basically posed that. Now, we were led to believe that we could possibly pursue that, and we did, but
Has anybody checked with the FRA and any of their grant programs available?
I've looked at some of those. I'm not familiar with all of them, of course, but that is something that has been looked into, especially the Section 130 that you're.
I know they are releasing some more money here right now.
Okay.
And it would behoove everybody for that to take out dangerous crossings, and with the factors on this factor of that one is exponential compared to other with fatalities, and they are doing a 90-10 match. It was mentioned earlier about a SWIP. What is the plan for the water in that floodplain? Regardless if there's homes or not, there was a mention of it. I heard somebody say there was a SWIP, the stormwater prevention plan. What is it for long-term drainage there for the floodplain right at Depot Street and the underpass? Is there a plan for the drainage? Because that seems to be the number one issue for ingress egress now to get through there. Somebody had mentioned it. I didn't know who it was. Is there a plan for it?
We don't have an engineer here, and we can't speak on it. The engineer has presented to everyone and has a plan. We don't have it with us.
But there is a plan for the floodplain there?
I would come and speak to Danny, speak to an engineer about it. None of us are engineers on it.
I've made some requests and I haven't seen an actual plan for the water. Anybody? No? Is that a no, Mike? Thank you. That's all I got.
You get with us, I think we could get,
Huh?
we can find one, there is a plan, we just don't have it in front of us to tell you exactly, I don't wanna be wrong. But we've had more than numerous plans about the water in the railroad. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jim Merriman, live at 411 Depot Street. Obviously, none of you live on Depot Street. Because that street has become an intersection. And it will become even worse over the next few years, obviously, with the new development going on. I've lived there in that house for about 5.5 years. When we first moved down here, it was kind of peaceful and quiet. Depot Street I'm referring to. Become an interstate, like I said. You got kids and trucks and cars coming down that road doing 50 miles an hour at least. You got big trucks with equipment coming up and down that road now. Speed limit is 30, they're doing 60 here, it seems like. I welcome a police officer to come sit in front of my house. My wife's already baking cookies. It's terrifying, I'll be honest with you. I'm at the corner of Depot and Ed, or Emmett, whatever it's called. You've been in my house. You spoke, I'm not driving. It's terrifying to even be out on the first 4 or 5 strips of my yard to cut the grass, because the cars that are coming from the railroad, coming east on Depot, they come over the top of that hill, and they're flying. There's gonna be some accidents, more accidents, and I know there's already been a few there before I moved in. So, I just know, I guess what I'm trying to express to you guys is, I have a house, I do projects, I've never been in your seat, I've never built a development, but I do projects around the house. There's certain things that need to be done before other things need to be done. And I think you're hearing this consistently here, that there are things that need to be done with the infrastructure before you start adding all these 700, 800 homes, 2,000 homes, whatever. What I just heard, this first city council meeting, I was bitches, and I wouldn't want to miss this. So what I'm understanding, if I'm correct, is that one subdivision will double the size of Chapel Hill within, I don't even know how many acres that is, but it's not near as many acres as the whole city of Chapel Hill, right? But you're gonna double it? Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, that's my brief answer, 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mark Hamley, 2141 Crutcher Road. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm one of the outsiders that's moved into Chapel Hill. I'm from a faraway place called Weevil. And people outside of Chapel Hill need a place to live too. I understand growth. Just Chairman, I think you implored the will of God to keep this meeting under control, and that signals to me that maybe you understand that some of your citizens feel like they're not being heard. I would implore each of you to take a step back and realize that a large group of your citizens feel as if they're not being heard. Or you spoke just a moment ago, two speakers ago, about a stormwater plan that had been approved for that Depot Street area. Can anyone expound on the details regarding that? Educate us? I understand that an engineer is not present. I would think maybe, it would be wise to recruit such engineers to be present at these meetings, but can anyone share?
In our planning commission meetings, they are, and that's normally when we do all that, and get more information, so anybody's welcome to come to one of the planning commissions, that's when all our engineers, they work on this, and I understand though that.
Are any members of the city council attending the planning commission meeting?
There is.
Yes, there is.
Okay, who would that be?
That will be, I will speak that I am on the planning committee. Yes, sir, and before I got on the planning committee is when all of this development was approved. We are considering everything that what has been mentioned tonight. We going forward, obviously it's very difficult to unring that bell, but going forward, we are looking at such roads, infrastructures, water pipes, sewers, schools.
This stormwater plan was approved
Well before
that point?
Well before I was even in office.
Okay, so this is a long existing plan.
This is a 7 to 8 year
But nobody on the
project.
city council can speak to what it is.
Well,
That
I don't
should
have
be a
I don't have the
problem
plans
for
in front of
everyone.
me. I can't speak to something, I'm not gonna speak to something when I don't have the data to give you an intelligent decision. And
I'm
not gonna
asking
speak
that all
out
the
of
city
whack.
council educate themselves on this issue. We as your constituents want to know.
Sure.
We wanna feel like we've been heard in our questions.
I agree with you, and we're going to, this, that development wasn't on our agenda, so we didn't come prepared with any of that, and no one at this table was here.
Understood,
that
but I
all-
think everybody knows it's a hot button issue.
Yeah. No one sitting at this table was here when that was approved, not
Nobody.
But.
I would
we
implore
realize-
each of you to
The
educate
mayor was an
yourselves
alderman.
on this.
Well, no, and we realize that. I mean, that's.
I do wish everybody would showed up 7 years, 5 years, 6 years, and was going through all this, and now the houses are being built, 5 years later, they're coming in. I do.
Consider us here for future.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
That's why I like this young man stepping back here.
And
Besides
we
just that
have all
neighborhood.
the same concerns you do, we have the same questions, I mean, we really do. We're,
Kenley, H-E-N-L-E-Y.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Amanda Emerson, 2269 Crusher Road. I have asked this before, and it comes up from time to time about communication and information. What's the best way to get everybody on track? I think we all learned from this last election cycle that we've all been sleeping, you know, and to try to attend as many of these meetings as I can. But I don't know that it's possible, and I'm just here for the information. I don't have a defined way, one or another. I've heard, some pros from the developer. I've heard some things that I've not thought about, the more head count, the more grants we would be able to get, more improvements, things of that nature. So I've heard it out from both sides, but the information is lacking. And people say, come see the city council person, or, come up here for the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes, you guys are just bare bones. You can't go back and check anything about it. So how best advise the town to be informed on these situations without coming up here every
That we have discussed it lately, and I can't argue that either. I do think there's gotta be a better communication, and I think we need to come up with a better solution, a better plan. And I would ask the board to try to do that. I think we have talked about this our last meeting as well. work section recently, and, it's a good question, I like, I think we do.
I love communication, I think that open communication keeps all of this from flaring up, to educate the townspeople, if I can help in any way, I'd be glad to serve.
What was your first name, Miss Edmondson?
Amanda?
I will ask this board, and I think they are, and we have had it on the work session, and I like to put it on the next work session and come up with solutions for people to understand more what's going on. There's no question about that. Yes, ma'am. All right, anybody else? Who was, somebody else? Yes.
Wesley Higdon, 2121 Derrick Road. The underpass issue, that we're having tremendous traffic increases and stuff like that. I myself have go through that a couple times a day. And I've been on Wilson Pike going to Brentwood, passes over the same track several times. Their solution was to put a light on each side. I mean, is there any way we can get a temporary light put up?
Difference is they don't have an overpass, we have an over and an under, so any kind of light.
It shouldn't matter, you can't see the other side.
Yeah, but what if you had a green light indicating you could go under and somebody went over at the wrong time?
They have a red light.
It's red lights.
People run red lights.
I know, but what I'm saying
Does
is.
it not apply to both?
I think it's a good question, and I think we should try to look into something.
Because we know that railroad's not gonna make a double pass.
Railroad's not, we're working with them,
Yeah.
I know Danny works with them 1,000 times.
Yeah, just
I think we need a
quick
light as
release
well,
is gonna be a light.
at least when the train's going, for sure.
Yes.
We need something.
Yeah,
We do.
And
It's a big concern for all of us.
Yeah, and that was my two cents.
I think I would, again, we would try to put that on the work side. I think that is something we definitely need to look at, something there. Because you're right, you can't see either way, and, it's dangerous to go over the top without a cross, red light or something.
Yeah.
At least at the top.
I'm not opposed to growth in the area, but I think, you know, all the Ts have to be crossed and all the Is dotted. You know, all the preparation has to be there.
Thank you.
Forgive me for speaking out of turn real quick, but large concave mirrors on both sides, I've seen done, and it works fairly well.
Anybody else? All right, having none, I'm shutting it off for the citizen. Accommodation, all right, I'm gonna speak now. I did pray to keep it under control, I think we did. I appreciate it, I know it's frustrating, I understand it, it's hard to deal with. But I'm glad you came in, I will give you time to speak, I'm just not gonna allow the argument in the crowd on each other, that goes nowhere. So I'm gonna thank God for helping me with this one, I know we didn't answer all y'all's questions, but maybe we can get better and communicate better. I think it's definitely a problem we should try to fix. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to the reports. Have y'all had time to look at the reports from the police and fire financial? Y'all looked at it?
Yes, we did.
Y'all got any questions? They're both here. Ask them anything? Matt's here. Chief Khan's here.
Do you need to tell them what you're doing with the truck and tanker?
I can, if you'd like to.
Yeah, go ahead at this time, since it's the end of your report.
So we had originally proposed surplusing the tanker that's gonna be replaced. The board voted on it and agreed to that. And, we're still gonna surplus it in that we're gonna get rid of it, but we're, talking about donating it to another fire department, specifically Farmington Fire Department. And the benefit there is we have an automatic aid agreement with them. They respond into the town with their apparatus, so if we give them that apparatus, which probably won't bring a lot of money on the market, that truck will still be serving our community. They have qualified people to operate it already, and, I didn't realize this when we originally discussed this, but they're down to one tanker instead of two due to mechanical problems, so, that would bring them back up to two, and again, that truck will be responding back into our community, even though we would no longer be the owners of it. So, I'd like to see us change that to a donation to them instead of trying to sell it on the market, which again, I don't think is gonna bring us a lot of money and make a big impact financially to us.
We don't have to vote to surplus it, so it's just a matter of how it's.
Thank you. Y'all got any questions? Y'all got any questions? Chief Tom? All right, having
Thank you,
none?
Mayor. Mr. Mayor, sir,
Yes.
I do have a question, sir, for both the gentlemen. Good luck.
Sir.
He's got a question.
I have a question for them.
He wants to speak with the chiefs.
Is that allowed or no?
Yeah, that's something I guess you could get with him later in his office, or maybe if he wants to talk to you one-on-one outside. I'm gonna continue on with the meeting. I've done closed it off.
Point of order?
Yeah, if it's over, he's right here, we could talk to him.
No, as point of order, under the law, they have a right to ask on any agenda item to the board.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
Doesn't require board action.
Department reports, police, fire, financial?
That's for the board.
Mr. Chairman, you remember my statement about the citizens feeling they've not been heard? That would apply in this scenario. Yes, you could bend a little here.
All right, give him one question. Yes, sir.
I guess to both of you, same question, but in this committee or previous committee, did they consult with you guys on capacity and whatnot when it comes to developing these communities?
So they did approach us about, their development and what it was going to look like. We expressed, that we're gonna need more officers, more equipment, and that's a part of growth. We also said that same thing for other developments when, Spring Creek Farms and Forest subdivision came in. We also, expressed those concerns. It's part of our growth and it is something that we are going to need. And I think the board is looking at that and also hopefully giving us another officer this year. They've added to the fire department, which, I mean, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but they have done some of that, planning and it is headed in that correct direction. Thank you.
Thank y'all, that's it. Let's go. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. All right, Danny, you up? Town administrator report. Was I missing?
A couple things real quick. There was a proposed Senate Bill 160, House Bill 83 that is making its way through the legislature right now. And it's in regards to, basically, if a municipality doesn't offer an ambulance service, that it would pay for that service up to 50% of the cost, according to the way the wording of the bill was proposed. So I emailed you guys, but I also reached out to our representative and also Senator Hensley, and he did respond back to me. He said, I appreciate the email and understand your concern, but you do not have to worry. Chapel Hill will not have to pay anything. The bill was amended to just be a study by TACIR to look at ambulance services across the state, and possibly what can be done to provide better service. It is just a study, and we'll get the results next year and then have information to see the coverage across the state. Thank you for the service to Chapel Hill, and please let me know anytime you can be of assistance. So it sounds like they've got that under control. I talked to Chief Stout about this as well, since our guys respond quite often to, by the way, out of the city calls and stuff. So this is one of those items I know has been a hot button for us with EMS and so forth. So according to Senator Hensley, it's just a study. We shouldn't have to worry about that, but I didn't want that, if that got through without anybody noticing or we voiced our concerns, then that would have been additional costs that we would have to associate with. So, Senator Hensley's amended for that. We did meet with the construction progress with Wofford Engineering and Smith Contracting, going over our sewer plant. It is progressing as expected. Smith Contractors are looking at a couple things that they're dealing with. Let's see, they are at delivering several pieces. The concrete's still being poured for the basins. The electrical room and all is being completed. Quite a bit going on down there. The concern, I think, and Donnie, you may have to correct me on this, but, there was concern about, I think, one piece of equipment or something that, may get caught up in overseas and so forth, so they're still looking at, late September, October
There's
type.
a transfer switch, it's possibly about a month behind.
Yeah. So they're still looking at October, September for that to be completed, and we'll have a completed, sewer plant, finished for that, so I'll keep you updated on that. They are very good about having update meetings every month, and, we'll definitely keep you in the loop on that. Let's see, Public Works, we started the repairs on Spring Creek subdivision. We're waiting for a full report for the repairs from the engineer. They had several daily work orders. Operations at water plant is ongoing. We got filters going, everything's looking good there. You know, especially during this storm, filters performed pretty well, so very pleased with that. We are finished installing our new water meters, so we should have, that in place, some data in place here next month or so to kind of look at how that's going to affect us water loss wise. We're expecting that to be a, tremendous asset to us to gain that water back, so, again, thanks for the board for approving the water meters. Let's see. Working on the lead service line inventory, which is mandated, I guess, by EPA and the state, and the system complete to be changed out, and done by 2037. So right now, we're identifying those points. Things are moving along in that. Let's see, we repair a sewer force main on Morningside again. Seems like that's, ongoing. And then, W&O contractors are finishing up a punch list for the water plant and, finishing up a few things there. So that's our water report. Anybody got any questions, myself or Donnie, on that?
What we got in?
All right.
How many times is that thing open?
Quite a few. I can't answer that off the top of my head. Donnie, probably, how many times the Morningside? 5.
In the past 2.5 years, 10 times.
Those are, I mean, it broke the other night. I mean, we had a couple people on vacation and so forth. And I don't know, it's about 11 o'clock. It's one Saturday night out there, so.
And that's the main one that courses, right?
Do what?
That's the main one that courses,
Yes,
right?
yeah. So that's one of the main lines.
We had it 3 times in 1 month.
I'm sorry, what?
The water plant, how much did that set us back and get fix it? Did they get repaired?
Yeah, it did.
It was like $1,500, something, I don't remember. It was a pretty expensive fix to fix the water plant, you know, you guys had the issues over there.
Yeah, I mean, that was our warranty and everything. so.
Okay,
Got a thank you card here. Thank you so much for your donation to the Forest Scholarship Fund in memory of Susie Piper McGowan's memory. Susie loved Chapel Hill and Forest High. We all appreciate your thoughtfulness very much. Sincerely, Bill Piper. He sent that to us. We made a small donation to the Forest High School on behalf of Ben's mother. So,
Thank you.
This week is telecommunication, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. I can say that out loud. There is a proclamation in your packet that will the mayor have signed, and I'll read it. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Marshall County Emergency Communication Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers, deputies, emergency medical responders, and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio and providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Marshall County 911 have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Chapel Hill declares the week of April 13th through the 19th to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Chapel Hill in honor of our men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Signed this 14th day of April 2025. So the mayor has signed that. They do a good job for us. And again, thanks for those telecommunicators. Well, let's see. A couple things here. Let's see. Fireworks update. The event committee has met and has gotten communications, starting to get communications out on it. Also met with the Lions Club on their tractor pull. They will have a fireworks show both nights, Friday and Saturday night. It is their 50th anniversary, so they will be celebrating that with a fireworks display. So those items are in the works, so they will be aware of that. And let's see, I received this from Jessica King, who was the former Chamber of Commerce president, and has asked me to read this to the board tonight. Says, I hope you are doing well. I will not be able to attend the meeting tonight that you all will be having, but I want to send this email over and request that it be heard during citizens' input in regards to the development of Chapel Hill. While I'm no longer the director of the Chamber of Commerce, I am still heavily involved in what happens in the community, and this includes what happens in Chapel Hill. I read the concerned citizens letter and his AI-generated public safety impact, and while I understand his concerns in regards to infrastructure, especially considering our EMS crisis, this citizen fails to understand the economic financial impact the subdivision has already mandated and will have on Town Chapel Hill and Marshall County as a whole. To date, the subdivision has contracted local subcontractors to work on this development. It's created 16 jobs for the local market and is on target to create a potential of 10 more. So what does this mean? When spent locally, a dollar can circulate 3.5 to 6 times before it leaves the community. This means that for every dollar spent at a local business, that dollar generates additional economic activity within the community. Just through the development stage of the subdivision, meaning prior to any homes being erected, the town of Chapel Hill will see an economic increase of 47%. Once the homes start going vertical and the homes being sold, this will add to the property tax revenue, which you and I both know this is city and municipality's #1 source of revenue, which will prevent a surge of property tax increase to the current citizens. The Board of Education already has plans in motion to add to the school system in Chapel Hill, as this development has been on the books now for more than 5 years. So this point is void. If you tuned into the education forum that I hosted for the chamber, you would have heard that last year. Lastly, in regards to the strain on the ballpark that will make this cease to exist is just ridiculous. The contractors that are working on the subdivision are local. They have kids that play ball in the very ballpark. They're coaches, they're future generations, and to top it off, there's an entire railroad track between the subdivision and the ballpark. Thank you for your time. I hope it wasn't too late in sending this over. So that's from Ms. King, who I've met several times. I'll pass this around. When she was chamber president. She's no longer.
Y'all got copies, Dan?
I'm passing that around. All right, let's see, anything else? I think that's pretty much everything I have, Mr. Mayor, on update from my end.
Got no old business? Under new business, having no old business, let's go to new business. Section A, must approve or deny resolution 2025-002. That is the fine for the parking violations that we brought up the last meeting. Is that something, I guess, we're not doing or not doing?
We're doing. Yes, this is, basically put into, by resolution, what will be charged. The bottom line is, whereas section 15-706, chapter 2 of municipal code provides that the board of mayor and aldermen establish fines for parking violations within town. And the board of mayor and aldermen has determined that it is best interest of residents to adopt fines. Pretty much this is what it's saying, section 1, that offenses for citations for parking shall be punishable by penalty of $50. And that was kind of just something that we need to shore up, put in place there.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Motion? Got a second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
B, approve or deny resolution 2025-003, authorizing the nation to, what is this, for property location at 108 North Portland Highway.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I have to recuse myself from discussion on this one.
Yes, sir.
This is, property that, is available for town to purchase, as far as in the middle of town. Plans are to basically, add this, as the board discussed, to, help us with our issue with the fire department and police department, have not only the vehicles that they're now getting, but also to help give us a little space there for proper growth and storage of some things. So that's, is being, something that the board is looking at and want to approve, and we have to, look at the resolution to pass.
This is just to negotiate the price, not to buy the property.
Yes.
I have a question.
I'm not gonna open it up no more for questions, I got, I'm in the middle of voting. Y'all gonna deny or approve, what you gonna do?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Approve? I have a second.
It's
Who seconded? Dale? All in favor?
Just to, Mayor, if I may, just to clarify, with it being just to negotiate, the contract prices will come back to the board for
Yes.
final approval once the price, if a price is established.
And we'll have the exhibit of all the.
Yeah.
And then we have to vote on it again.
Right. This is just authorizing the negotiation for the contract.
Did I have? Approve?
Yes.
And I had a second? All in favor? All opposed? Going further, this is proposal letter for Todd to continue as the town attorney for Chapel Hill. Hope tonight does not change his mind.
I'd like to make a motion to retain
Got a motion? Got a second, all in favor? All opposed? That's good, bud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Y'all got any discussion? Closing remarks. Anybody want to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.